Mariners lose 5-1. They fall to 2-2 on the season. They split the series with the Red Sox at 2 games apiece. Let's quickly go over the scoring plays. Some for Boston, not a lot for the Mariners. Tyler O'Neill gets the Red Sox on the board with a homer off Bryce Miller in the top of the second. That makes it 1-0 Boston. Mariners do answer back in the second with a Josh Rojas single to score Mitch Haniger. 1-1. Fourth inning, Emmanuel Valdez just shellacks a baseball off Bryce Miller with a couple runners on. One of them, of course, being Tyler O'Neill. That makes it 4-1. And in the sixth, they get a little insurance with a grounder to the pitcher that scores Yoshida 5-1. Red Sox don't score after that, which is fine. The Mariners don't score after the second inning, which is not. Some quick positives. I thought that the bullpen did a pretty good job today, in particular, Colin Snyder. 2 innings of scoreless baseball with a strikeout, 16 to 25 pitches for strikes. I'm curious to see how they use him. He looked really good, and I got good reports during the spring as well. So the fact that he can go multiple innings is a nice little thing as well. They have a couple of guys who can do that in Colin Snyder and in Austin Voth. It's nice to have a little bit of versatility. You might as well have some versatility when you're missing really the keys to your bullpen, or 2 of the 3 keys to your bullpen in Matt Brash and Gregory Santos. Trent Thornton pitched much better today than he did on Saturday. Much lower leverage situation, but hey, great to see him get the job done. Offensively, Ty France with a couple hits. He's not hitting the ball hard, but he's using the whole field. Like to see that. Josh Rojas, I think, is swinging the bat pretty well. He's hitting 500 on the year. That's probably not sustainable. Maybe that's the hot take of this video, that I'm going to say Josh Rojas can't hit 500 for all of 2024. Be fun to be wrong. Definitely be a record. That's pretty much it for positives, other than it was a beautiful day. It was a nice little Easter. Happy Easter to those who celebrate. Just a very nice Sunday to those of you who do not. Had a really good dinner. Honey baked ham. Love that. Twice baked potato. Really love that. Love a twice baked potato. Good Caesar salad. Good company with my grandma and my sister, brother-in-law, my 2 nieces. It's a good day. Not sure why my voice went so high there, but it's a good day. Until I remember that I watched this Mariner game. Yuck. Before I get into the yuck, I want to talk about something that I love, and that's Simply Seattle. Simply Seattle provides the very best in Seattle sports gear. Great stuff for the Mariners, of course, including this hat. Oh, and by the way, the colors of this hat remind me of something else I want to talk about. Sorry to interrupt your ad read there, Simply Seattle, but we got to talk about it. But they have great stuff for the other teams, too, in this great, great city. The Huskies, the Cougars, the Storm, the Sounders. And I know the Cougars aren't here, but hey, P&W, baby. Great stuff for the Sounders and the Storm. Great stuff for the Tacoma Rainiers. Great stuff for FC Ballard. All sorts of great stuff. All sorts of great prices. And we can make a great price even greater by using code MollyWatt15. And what MollyWatt15 does is it takes 15% off your order. And it's the ultimate win-win-win, because it shows you're listening to the show. It shows that you're giving your business to a great local business like Simply Seattle. And it takes 15% off your order. Win, win, win. www.simplyseattle.com. There is a link in the description with that code. But just in case you need it again, MOLLYWHOP15. All right, so the first negative. I just got to talk about it. I've meant to bring it up in videos in the past. And, we've only had 4 game recaps, so it's not like I've just been ignoring it, but I kind of ignored it during spring training. This uniform situation is a joke. Not only do you need to have 2015 vision in order to see the names on the jerseys, you see the Mariners wearing their home whites, and they put out a tweet. And by the way, this is not the Mariners' fault. I want to make that clear. I am not criticizing the Mariners in this situation. They put out the tweet that they're wearing their home whites. And I start thinking, hey, does this mean that they may be going away from the creams, the Sunday jersey? Because, you can only wear a certain amount of uniforms all year. There is a limit to how many you can wear. I can't remember if it's 4. I can't remember if it's 5. But, hey, I start thinking, maybe they're going to bring back the road grays, one of the boringest uniforms in baseball. But, maybe they want to bring those back. But it's not that. Somebody asks what's going on. They respond, the uniforms aren't ready. How pathetic. Fanatics and Nike, who do not sponsor the show and probably won't anytime soon, what are you doing? Like, literally, what are you doing? How can you be this bad at this? How can uniforms for Major League Baseball teams not be ready? Are you kidding me? You have created such a debacle over these last 6 months that it's really impressive. It's hard to screw something up as bad as you've screwed this up. You keep talking about the breathability of these jerseys, and I see the Yankees look like they were playing in the Amazon because they're sweating so bad. You screwed everything up. It's embarrassing. I don't want to go too far and like burn a bridge or whatever, but there's a reason why I do my best to shop at places like Simply Seattle, because they're run better. You're supporting a local business, and I don't have to worry about things like my shirt looks like I'm wearing it inside out because the logo is faded so bad. Get with it, man. Get better at this, and quickly. Speaking of get better and get quickly, I'm going to talk about the offense, but let's start with Bryce Miller because he wasn't very good today. The line's not horrible. 5 innings of 4-run baseball, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. If you want to be the ultimate optimist, you can say, hey, all 4 runs scores homer. If he just keeps the ball in the park, pretty good start. You can do that if you want. It's your right. I think that's pretty short-sighted. And also, it's not just short-sighted, it's wrong. You know, one of those homers being a 3-run homers, he gives up those 2 runners before. The homer to O'Neill was not a terrible pitch. It needs to be up a little bit more. But, you know, it's tough to drive that baseball as hard as he does. And clearly Tyler O'Neill is mad at the Seattle Mariners, and he took some stuff out on him this weekend. Good for you, Tyler. Good for you. The pitch to Valdez was garbage. It was not a major league offering. Just a cookie cutter down the middle of the plate, and Valdez shellacked it. You can point out that the pitch before to Valdez, I think Valdez swung, and it should have been a 2-2 count instead of a 3-1 count. It's fine. And, you know, you have to throw a strike on 3-1 and all that stuff. You don't have to throw it that poorly. That was a 40 grade pitch at best. And Valdez shellacked it, mollywopped it, any type of word you want to use to it. The one nice thing I take from this start is, you know, again, the biggest concern for me with Miller is, can he get lefties out? And I saw some secondary pitches today to suggest that it's possible. It is possible. Still have some question marks. And maybe it's a little more obvious how poorly Bryce Miller pitched when you watch Logan Gilbert and George Kirby just absolutely shove in back-to-back games. You know, the juxtaposition between Miller and Castillo versus Gilbert and Kirby is quite palpable. Very big difference there. I guess one thing you can point out too is that, hey, both those guys had to face Raffy Devers. Raffy Devers didn't have a great game today. He went 1 for 5, but he certainly elongates that lineup for sure. Somebody you have to be cognizant of. It was just not an impressive effort from Bryce Miller. Long story short, I was not impressed with Bryce Miller today. I am sure I will be impressed with Bryce Miller quite a few times this year. But if I'm just being honest with you, and again, just one start, didn't do anything to dissuade the few isn't right, but large isn't either concerns that I have. Especially as the 4th starter. Sure would like Bryce Miller to be the 5th starter on this team right now. If you want to talk about Cody Bolton, you can. Cody Bolton's just not very good. I imagine that he will be one of the first arms down when the bullpen gets healthy. This offense all weekend was awful. In particular, the actual weekend, Friday through Sunday. Over the 27 innings of regular baseball, you scored 3 runs from Friday to Sunday. You know, You add 3, and with the zombie runner helping you out, and with Kenley Jansen not available, I probably should have brought that up, although I didn't know Kenley Jansen wasn't available at the time. So, don't blame me too much. This offense just looks horrible. So many players stunk today. JP Crawford was bad. Julio was bad. Jorge Polanco was bad and has been bad in all 4 games. Mitch Haniger gets the 1 hit, and he drives it pretty good. It's nice to see a double. He certainly has been the most effective offensive player for them so far, outside of maybe Josh Rojas. But I'd take Haniger just because he's hitting the ball a little bit harder in a more difficult situation. Ty France gets the 2 bloops. I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing out what it was. Poor Dom Canzone. What an awful, 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 awful first 4 games being named the starting left fielder of this baseball team. He's bad. Dylan Moore, and by bad, he was bad today. Still have some, I have a lot of concerns with Dominic Canzone as a basic rookie, but there's some offensive upside there. I'm not completely giving up on him. Certainly not over 4 games, but didn't look good. Dylan Moore was bad. Luke Raley, after I said so many nice things about what he did in that 10th inning, did not follow that up. And Sebi Zavala is just a horrific hitter. Horrific. You see what this lineup looks like, by the way, with no Big Dumper and with no Mitch Garver in it, who, again, missing time with back spasms. They keep saying day to day. Here's hoping he can get in at some point during the Cleveland series, but I don't know. But you see how bad that lineup, the bottom of the lineup in particular, looks when you don't have those 2 guys in. Just as unimpressive of an offensive start to the season as you can possibly have. And I do want to credit Garrett Whitlock. I've credited all 4 pitchers. I've seen a lot of people point that out. I've seen people pointing out the fact that there's the marine layer thing going on. I think that's a little bit of nonsense because the approach has been so bad. The marine layer doesn't change, swinging at pitches outside of the zone or just not making contact on pitches that are inside of it. So, okay, marine layer. But credit to the Boston pitching staff, especially the rotation. If Boston is going to contend, it's going to be those guys. Cutter Crawford, Nick Pivetta, Brian Bayo, and Garrett Whitlock are all very talented pitchers. It's one of the better starts I've seen from Garrett Whitlock. I have seen Garrett Whitlock look dominant in relief, and I still think he profiles better in relief because I think he's a little bit of a 5 and dive type of pitcher. I can't count on him to give me 6 or 7 innings. He's had health issues. I think he profiles much better as either a closer or a high leverage guy who can give you multiple innings. But you see the stuff. He's good. Very talented pitcher. The Red Sox have a chance to be decent if all 4 of those guys can stay healthy and they score just enough runs, because I don't think the lineup's good enough to be great. We saw Boston for the overwhelming majority of the series struggle to score runs too, in part because the Mariner pitching was pretty good, especially Friday and Saturday. But I'm not just giving credit to the Red Sox pitchers and just saying, well, sometimes you're going to run into that stuff. No, these guys aren't that good. They are not 1.00 ERA over the last 27 regular innings. Nope, we're not doing that. We can acknowledge how early it is in the season. We can acknowledge how much stuff can change, but we will acknowledge the fact that over these first 4 games, the Mariners' offense stunk. It was bad. It was very, very, very bad. And that's disappointing. I want to see this team get off to a good start. I want to see this team win the division. I want to see this team playing home games in the postseason. It is hard to do that when you get off to a poor start. This isn't necessarily a poor start in terms of wins and losses. I think that you should win the series against Boston at home. Of course I do. I think anything but 3-1 was going to be disappointing here. They just haven't looked like a very good baseball team over these 4 games. Saturday was a lot of fun watching that team come back and showing some grit and watching Julio's magnanimous personality do what that was and all that stuff. But the first 9 innings of that game, they were terrible offensively. And they were terrible through the only 9 in this one too. Tomorrow, Brian Wu is on the mound for Cleveland. I'm going to hit the pause button because I have no idea who's pitching. But I want to tell you, you know what the best part about that pause was? Not only did I not know who Cleveland was pitching, I told you the wrong name for who Seattle's pitching. Of course, it's Emerson Hancock. And it's Tristan McKenzie going for Cleveland. I would have to say advantage Cleveland there. All due respect to Emerson Hancock, who definitely has talent. Tristan McKenzie has just as much, if not more. So a lost series here would be extremely disappointing. Goes without saying again, but man, what a disappointing weekend. It's great that a disappointing weekend is a split instead of, heaven forbid, losing all 4 or going 1-3. But do you feel like me that this was a disappointing weekend? Do you feel like they should have beat the Boston Red Sox 3 of 4 games at least? I don't mean to be a hater to the Boston Red Sox, who have infinitely more history and have been infinitely better over their time, even while not winning a World Series for as long as they did. Won plenty lately. I just don't think Boston's very good this year. I didn't come away from this series thinking, wow, Boston's way better than I thought. I came away thinking, wow, the Mariners just did not play well over that weekend. Please hit like and subscribe. Tell me your thoughts. Back tomorrow with a new video, of course. Hopefully it's after a Mariner win. Please score some runs this week. I don't think it's that much to ask.